Well, good afternoon. Here we are on the end of the week, Friday afternoon, and it's really good to be with you. And thank you so much for joining in with me this afternoon. Sometimes it can be so tempting to retreat, to back off, and to flee to a place that we know provides us some, even if it's just temporary comfort, some kind of release, some kind of break, some kind of good feeling. And during this time, and I was just thinking about this especially this week because, schools are back. I've been reading these reports that COVID-19 numbers locally are on the rise a bit again. And, we've been reintroducing more and more activity into our lives. It can be so tempting to return or to draw on those old tried and tested pacifiers, those comfort blankets that we've all got. On Sunday, I really hope you can join me because I'm going to look at King David. I'm going to look at his relationship with God and his identity and confidence and how it was rooted in that relationship with God. But today, I just want to briefly mention, because we'll keep this short, that firstly, it is natural for us to want to retreat. Sometimes it's healthy for us to retreat. And some of the things that we use to retreat to can be good and can be God-given. But at the same time, sometimes it's not the right time to back off. And sometimes the things that we draw upon, they are not healthy and not God-given. And I also want you to know today that your God, our God, is able and is willing to be that comfort, to be that place that you can rest in and a place you can run to. Over the years, I've allowed places of comfort in my life that are not God-given. Or maybe sometimes they were God-given initially, but they've become my go-to place, the place that I run to first, and eventually my vice. I can think of back to a time when I would find comfort in sexual thoughts, and eventually that led me to an addiction and a place where I immediately ran to when I felt the need. I can think of the comfort over the years that food has given me and how at times that's turned into an addiction and a place that I run to make myself feel better. I can think of the comfort, particularly in one stage of life, that video games gave me, a place to escape to, and eventually it turned to an addiction. I can think of the comfort that success at places like work or in sport have given me, and that they eventually, while not like a clear vice or addiction, became a place of comfort that I ran to, a place that I rested in, a place that I was satisfied in. I can also think of places of comfort like my mum's food, or my bedroom when I was growing up, or watching telly with my in-laws over the years, or special places of alone time with Jo, my wife. Or I can think of things like watching my kids play sport. And I know that at times, while those things are good comforters, they have competed with the true rock, the true comforter, the true trainer, the ultimate educator. These things were not wrong, but I'm tempted to run to them first at times. I also think sometimes things like our mood, low moods or high moods, angry moods or passive moods, some of these things we can run to because we know, as we face discomfort, we know what we're going to find in these areas. And so we turn to them quickly. I have had times when I have turned to anger to get my own way because it's comforting to get my own way. I have also turned to passivity at times. I have turned to low moods, I've turned to high moods. And I know for some of us, actually failing can be a thing we turn to because it's easier to fail than face the consequences of being successful. Or maybe it's our capacity. You know that you've got a great capacity, you're a high capacity person, and so you can get a lot done, so you just knuckle down and work hard and get through it. But this actually is your comfort blanket. And so my question for you today is, where do you run to? When times are tough, when it's scary, when your health is deteriorating, when you're grieving over a lost one or something that's been lost, that's dear, when you face financial ruin, when you are having a relationship and it's on the ropes, when you're facing conflict, when you've got a presentation to give and the pressure of it is immense, when you find yourself all alone with no friends and no one to share your faith with, when you have no job, your hope of provision, financial provision, material provision is gone, when your kids leave home and that was your purpose in life, when you're ridiculed for how you look, or what you say or how you act? What comfort do you turn to? Are you aware of your comforters? And are they God-given? You can see when we can retreat to prayer, that is God-given. When we can retreat to the scriptures to hear what God has to say about these things, it's God-given. When we find ourselves on our knees before God, then it's God's given. When we're wrapping ourselves in the blanket of God's love, in the comfort blanket of God's love, it's God-given. And sometimes God gives that in a season where maybe it is your mum's cooking for you, or maybe it is a friend to watch the telly with. But when those things take over and that they are the things you run to, we know that we are finding our comfort in things that are temporary and going to let us down. And they have now taken over from Jesus. What I want to say to you today is God your highest place, the tower over all, so that you know he is with you in your lowest, and you know that he will be with you in your lowest? Is God your highest place, so that he is with you in your lowest? You know, I think of the 3 young boys we read about who faced death at the hands of a powerful ruler, a king, who told them to kneel before his God or be thrown into the furnace. You can read about this in Daniel, by the way. They replied, these young lads, our God is able to save us, we know that. But even if he does not, we will not bow the knee to another God. We will not run somewhere else first for safety. We will run to our God for safety. And these lads, you know, they hadn't had it easy. This wasn't the first time they faced disaster. They were not just away from home, they've been ripped out of their home. They've been conquered. They've been taken away from their families, their mums, their dads, their brothers, their sisters. They've been ripped out into a foreign land, in a foreign language, with foreign food, with everything was uncomfortable around them. They'd probably seen their mates brutally murdered, to be honest. Yet they didn't retreat. They were ready for their moment because God was their high place and they knew he would be with them in their low place. Even if he doesn't save us, our God is with us and we will not bow the knee. Listen, I think of young Esther, an orphan, taken away from her people. She too was ripped out of her safe place at a young age, and she was made a sex slave. We often miss this part. She was a concubine. This is a modern day, we'd call that a sex slave. Someone who is slept with no marital rights by the king. Eventually the king takes delight in her and makes her his wife. But when the king decides to wipe out her people, her race of people, she decides to reveal who she is and plead with him to change his mind. She is warned, as she shares this with a loved one, with a close person, she is warned that she will perish, and that why are you doing this? Because God is able to save his people with or without you. And she says in that moment, if I perish, then I perish. God is her high place, and she knows that he is with her in her low place. The 3 young lads, you know, they went into the fire, and we read that they see someone like the Son of Man, Jesus, I think, there with them. They actually went into that fire, can you imagine? Esther ends up facing the king and finding that God is able and the king gives her favour. But I also think of Stephen. People have been lying about him, falsely accusing him, and he was taken to trial. And Stephen is another example of even if I perish. And these accusers, they go into a frenzy, I think, because he was just glowing with the radiance of God, refusing to bow to something else. They go into a frenzy and they are brutally beating him to death. And he sees Jesus. He sees Jesus with him, opening his arms. Stephen was saved in a completely different way. He was killed that day. But as he was killed, he runs into the arms of Jesus because God is his high place. Jesus is his high place. He knows he's with him in the lowest of moments. And so today, whatever's going on, you may be tempted to retreat to some of your old vices. And I believe as I speak, some of you know exactly what I'm talking about. But I want to encourage you to make God your high place, to bow your knee to God, and to know he is with you. He is with you in the low. This time is temporary. This moment is fleeting. Our time on this earth is short-lived. And so can you commit to say, even if COVID-19 is ravishing through our country and our world, even if I face financial ruin, even if I am so blooming anxious, even if I'm mocked, even if I'm totally on my own, even if I feel so low I can hardly move, even if I'm sick, I will bow the knee to my God only. I will run to him. He is my high place and he is with me in the low. You're not alone today. God is with you. And I want to encourage you to do some things today. Recommit yourself to having God as your high place. Maybe if you need some help, reach out. You can reach out to us at Hope Church. Do it through Facebook. Give us a message. One of our leadership team will be in touch. And you can join me on Sunday as well, as I'm going to look a little bit at the life of David and how he praised God in these moments. Thanks for being with me. Pray God will bless you and keep you and free you from any addictions that you have in his mighty name, in Jesus' mighty name. And may God be our high place, and we know he is with us in our low place. I hope to see you soon. Bye.